You guys have kind of been in limbo for a couple months as to who your next head coach is going to be here at our school, and quite frankly, so have I. I will tell you, I've waited a very, very long time, from the time I was about 21 years old, and I realized what I wanted to do with my life as an educator when I graduated from St. Francis. I knew that professionally I wanted to be an administrator and principal. And I also knew that I wanted to be a head football coach one day. And so I waited and I waited and waited because the timing was never right. It was never right for me for whatever reason. Okay? So I went up to Richland and I coached there for a long time, and I had to look across the field at the guys that wore that helmet, this helmet that I wore, and the coaches that I loved that brought me up and taught me what it meant to be a crusher. And as I stood there and I looked across and I saw Coach Schultz, and I saw Dave Seidel, and I saw Coach Salem, and I saw all the guys that were my friends, it was difficult at times because I knew in my heart where I really wanted to be, professionally and as a coach. And so I waited 20 years for this day. 20 years. I am the new head football coach at Bishop McCort High School. And I couldn't be more proud, and I couldn't be more excited. So what does that mean for us? It means a lot. It means we return prestige to our program, guys. I know what it is to be a crusher. I know what the program means to the school and to our community. I've heard the stories about Coach Schumacher in the 1960s. I was a part of the movement in the 1980s under Coach Schultz and Coach Wellick. I was a part of it in the 1990s when I came back and coached for 3 years and got a little taste before I moved on to other things. And I watched as this program grew and grew into a state competitor for a state title. Started winning district title after district title after district title, and then competed for a state title. There's no reason in the world in this day and age, and I mean right now, why Bishop McCort can't compete for a state title and should have a state title. So from this point forward, with all of you guys in my corner, and I know you are, and I know the guys back here, and I know the guys back here, and I know the teachers upstairs, and I know the parents in the stands are in my corner. We're going to take our football team to the next level this fall, academically, and form a new football culture here at Bishop McCort, one that was, where we let our pads do the talking, not our mouths. We let our pads do the talking. We pick a quarterback up, we drive him into the ground, and then we help him up, and we go back to the huddle. And we make a statement that we are to be feared when we get off the bus at our rivals' stadiums. Bishop McCort is in town. You know what that's like? You know what that's like? Because I think a little bit sometimes we forget what that's like. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're going to see what it's like again. You're going to see what it's like again. So from this day forward, in that weight room, on the streets of our town, and on our practice fields, we're going to make a movement back to the way this program was in the 1960s. The ones that the Diesel grew up through, Pete Duranko. You know that name? You walk by him up there, but you haven't heard enough about him. You haven't heard enough about him. Steve Smear, you haven't heard enough about him. The Hawkins boys and what they went through to get to the top of the football world. You haven't heard enough about them. You haven't heard enough. Or an undersized nose tackle that no one thought could ever play this game. But you know who did think? The people in this school. The people in this school didn't look at me as a player here and say, you can't play because you're too small. Instead, they said, you can play. And you can be great if you want to be. I never made that wall up there, but the people at that time that went here understood what it was to be a crusher and how you rise to the top and fight through everything. Because what I've seen in our program is that we have to learn to fight through adversity. No matter how bad it gets, no matter how tough it is, we haven't done that. The guys over there have state titles. Those two guys right there, they have hockey state titles, they have baseball state titles. Why can't we win one in football? Guess what? The why days are over, and you're about to find out why we can and why we're going to. You understand? I told you a couple months ago there's a path to the state title, and I know you guys believe me, didn't you, Bryce? You believe me, I know you do. We're going to hop on that path. But we're going to bust through every obstacle in our path. As a player here, I would have fought the biggest bull in Mexico for my coaches. And I know the people in this building would have done the same for them on their way to win state titles. Run through brick walls for them. Brick walls, and that's done through relationship building. We're going to have that relationship here, and you're going to find out that I'll run through a brick wall for you. I think most of you already know it, don't you? So get ready. The biggest, baddest team in the land, we're going to put them all on notice. They're going to know who we are again. In our faith. Everything that our faith is built upon that word resurrection. Resurrection. We're a faith-based school, and we're a faith-based football team. The word resurrection. Jesus rising from the dead. The greatest thing that ever happened in the history of man. We believe in that. Right? So we're going to take that word resurrection, and we're going to apply it to our program. We're going to resurrect our football program. Back to what it was. Back to what it was. The greatest program in all the region that everyone envied and looked at and was in awe of. In fear when we get off the bus. In fear. Bring it in here. Come on, bring it in. Bring it in here. This football helmet right here, every sparkle in that helmet, every sparkle represents someone that played here, went to school here. The red represents the blood that they shed for our school. The blood represents what they gave in this school. That red face mask represents that blood. The mud and the blood. The mud and the blood, man. That's what made this school great. And we're going back to it. You understand? And there's going to be no turning back. Y'all with me? Yes, sir. Crushers, do you hear me? Yes, sir. Let's go. You guys know the drill. Crushers, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Crushers, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.